But this is how I did the math. How did I do that? So I took 32 divided by 8. No, divide by 4. I really have a hard time telling you what I did. Hi y'all, my name is Jana Kay and welcome to my channel Flourish, Faith, and Fiber. And this is Boujee Crochet Wearable episode number 5. So I'm glad to have you all with me, and I got the yarn in from Knit Picks and did a gauge swatch for this second crochet wearable that I am making that you all voted on. And actually, I was going to say cast it on, put it on my hook and got started with a few rows. So I'm here today to show you all about that progress that I've made. So first, the yarn. So I ordered a 60% Pima cotton and 40% modal from beechwood fiber from Knit Picks. I know a lot of knitters order yarn from Knit Picks, and I am making a summer top, so I wanted it to be cool and comfortable. Found this cotton and modal blend, thought it would be beautiful. And so this is the label. It is called Shine. It is sport weight, which is a size 2 yarn, and it is in the colorway Wisteria. And so this ball has 110 yards, and it is a 50-gram ball. And which is very interesting that they give the length in yards, but the weight in grams. Anyway, it is 110 yards, so be a little bit fewer meters because there's about a 3-inch difference between a yard and a meter. And then it is a 50-gram ball. So that is the color I chose, and the yarn I chose, and the company from Knit Picks. I did look at another company who is known for having different types of fiber, since I did not want to make it out of wool, but also looked at Knit Picks and chose this one because I really liked the fiber content, but also really loved the color. And Knit Picks is a bigger site, is a bigger company, and they had a lot more choices. So that's what I chose. So this came in last week, and was very excited to get started. So as a reminder, I am doing the Summer Breeze Raglan by Becky Mately, and found it on Ravelry. I will put a link below. Would love for you to join me in making this top. If you are interested, make it along with me. That's why I didn't do too many rows as I got started, because it was kind of addictive and I wanted to do a few more, but held back so that if any one of you wants to join me, you can. Below in the description box, I always put the different ways you can get connected with me. One of those ways is my email address. It's below, so as you make the top or when you are finished, send pictures, because I would definitely love to put them in my videos as we progress through this project. So, Summer Breeze Raglan by Becky Mately. Now, the yarn that she used was for the pattern that she calls for in her pattern is a DK weight yarn. And I really liked this yarn and knew it was sport weight, so I knew the importance. And even if I chose DK weights are different. So even when you're making wearables, even if you're using a DK weight and it calls for a DK weight, if it is a different brand, a different type of yarn, then gauge swatching is important. The nice thing about crochet is gauge swatches usually go by pretty quick. So in the pattern, she asks you to do a gauge swatch with half double crochet, since most of the pattern is done in that stitch. So this is my gauge swatch that I did, all half double crochets back and forth. And I usually do a gauge swatch that is bigger than the 4x4 that I think almost all gauge swatches are. There are a few, like with socks and other things, where the gauge pattern might be a little bit smaller or a different size square, but most are, in knit and crochet, most are 4x4 inches or 10x10 centimeters. So I did my gauge swatch a little bit bigger so that I didn't have to measure from the rougher edges. And so her gauge swatch, and I'm checking, is if you see me turn, I am checking my or her pattern. So her gauge swatch is 10x10 centimeters, 4x4 inches, is 14 half double crochets across by 12 rows. My gauge swatch came out to be 16 half double crochets by one extra row, 13 rows, gave me the 4" by 4", 10 centimeter by 10 centimeter square. So I am small. I wear usually the smallest size. My bust circumference is 32 inches. The small in her pattern is 32 to 34. The medium is 36 to 40, I think. Anyway, what I figured out was that from the pattern, so this is how I did the maths. I figured out that by her gauge swatch, 14 stitches is 4 inches. 32 inches around is divided by 4 and got 8, which means 8 sets of 14. Now, she does say in her pattern that there should not be much positive ease at all, because it is supposed to be a tight fitting t-shirt. And so I, thinking that the range was 32 to 34 for the small, 8 rounds for the size small, and one of my rounds was 16 stitches. It was an extra 2 stitches. So I multiplied the 2 times the 8 rounds, because I was getting 2 extra stitches, and I got to 36. I figured out that basically I was making 1 extra 4 inches to go around 8 times. Anyway, all that to say, you can correct my math if you feel like maybe I wasn't thinking through this correctly or I didn't say it correctly. But what I ultimately figured out is that I needed to do, because it was taking me 2 extra stitches per 4 to get to 32, that I needed to do a size medium. That is a 36 to 40 inch bust circumference. So I am doing, all that to say, the size medium. I just went up a pattern size. I also am using, and I didn't mention this earlier, I am using a different hook size. The pattern calls for a 5mm hook for most of the pattern, the top. There are places where it does call for a 4.5, or she calls for a 4.5mm hook. But because I wanted to have tighter stitches, I didn't want a lot of gaps, then I used a 4 4mm hook. I used the tulip hooks, and I used a 4mm hook for mine. So I think that is part of the reason that I also got 2 extra stitches per 4 inches when I did my gauge swatch. So all that to say, we'll see how it turns out. The nice thing, because it's raglan and you work the yoke from the top down, I can try it on as I go and make sure the shoulders are wide enough, make sure the circumference is gonna be wide enough, make sure the arm where I'm gonna finally connect and split for the arms will be wide enough. It is really nice that it is raglan and I can try it on as I go. In fact, in her pattern's amazing, because in her pattern, she talks about where she stopped to try things on. She gave you the plan of do this, try it on, do this, try it on, which was really nice to see where she did that. So we will see how that goes, but let me show you how far I have gotten in the pattern. All right, this is how far I have gotten in the pattern, and we started, as I said, it's raglan, so you start from in here. You can see where I started. She has you do a foundation, a single crochet foundation row. Even though it's in half double crochet, she has you do a single crochet foundation row to start with, and then you work, because half double crochet does lean, you work it and turn your work and do the next row, and turn it and do the next row. So you turn at the end of each round. Now, it is a V-neck sweater, so that's why it is not connected, because eventually, I'll get my hair out of the way, hold this, there we go. So eventually it will come down into a V as you keep going. It's going to be as a V, and then you'll connect and keep going. So even now I can try it on and make sure that I will definitely be able to get it over my head, that it's laying right. So that's as far as I have gotten. And I have done, besides the foundation row, I have done, it looks like, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 rows, 4 rounds. So plenty of time if you like the pattern and you want to join in. There's plenty of time to join me in making this top. The yarn, I am absolutely loving it. It is extremely soft, so nice to work with. It's not splitty. It's amazing. It feels great. And so I appreciate Knit Picks for having this yarn in their stock, and being able to find it, the lovely color, and so excited about continuing. So that is the beginning of the Summer Breeze Raglan by Becky Mately. Even if you, maybe you have got too much going on to join in, but check out the pattern, consider making it as I go along. You'll see how it's working up, and maybe it will be something that in the future you will be excited about and interested in doing. So thank you for joining me for episode 5. I'm going to keep working, and we'll see you again for episode 6 to see how the progress on this Summer Breeze Raglan is going. And y'all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.